Discrimination in sport, a focus on ethnicity, race, and culture. What is discrimination in sport in relation to ethnicity, race, and culture? Discrimination is the act of treating a person unfairly because of who they are, for example, due to either race, age, sex, religion, or disability. The list goes on. Ethnic, racial, and cultural discrimination in sport has always been a major sociological issue. For example, the historical controversy regarding the mixing of different races in different sports, competitions, and events. During this presentation, we will be exploring different types of discrimination and instances where it has occurred.
The main reason I chose the topic discrimination in sport, a focus on ethnicity, race and culture, is because it is abundantly clear the issue still exists in a modern society when it doesn't have to. You only have to look at some of the biggest headlines in sport over recent years. Kay and Patrick isn't getting blackballed NFL XA, they're just racist. NBA bars, Clippers owner Donald Sterling for life, and recently, British Bureau probes racist abuse of Singapore referee. Racism is still clearly a major issue, and more education and research done in the area can only help.
Personally, I chose this topic to gain increased insight and knowledge into this problem, as I have very little first-hand experience with the issue. I know that discrimination is an issue in society, particularly when it comes to ethnicity, race, and culture, and I know of different cases where this has occurred. However, due to lack of multiculturalism where I am from, it isn't something I have experienced myself.
So I've always found how all different cultures could play and cooperate with each other was always interesting. I've always liked to see how different cultures do things. So that's why I was really drawn to this topic. So the first source I'll be talking about is the Allen Iverson documentary that can be found on Netflix. So just a bit of background information on Allen Iverson. He's a basketball player. He was drafted number 1 to the Philadelphia 76ers in 1966 and he played 14 seasons in the NBA. Most remembered for his years at the Philadelphia 76ers and for carrying his team to the finals against the Los Angeles Lakers, which they lost. So, before Iverson was drafted, he was viewed as a golden child due to his athletic ability and skill in both football and basketball. And the documentary really states how good he actually really was. But because of this, how good he was constantly scrutinised by the public and the media and was always viewed as a target because of his ethnicity. There is a scene in the documentary saying before he was 18, him and his friends were charged for a crime they did not commit in a bowling alley brawl, which led to innocent people getting hurt. Since he was at the scene, the police immediately prosecuted him and sent him to jail for 1 year. He stood trial, but there was no hope of coming up innocent. Fortunately, he was able to overcome these hardships and become the superstar he once was. The documentary talks about all the racist acts that he had to endure in more detail. This shows because of sport, Allen Iverson was more of a target for racism, thus making him the perfect example of what racism in sports can look like. Even just being part of a sport can lead to racism.
The contemporary portrayal of racism in sport in the form of print media is mainly one of delivering information about instances of racism that are likely to catch an eye or encourage insulted by the paper because of the high-profile athletes speaking out. Instances such as this include Adam Goods going after 13-year-old girl's racial slur, Freddie Lumumba launches fresh tirade against Scotland, and Dr. Pearce racially abused by AFL fan. Sure, these articles provide awareness and information to the consumer about the existence of racism in sport, but very, very rarely, if ever, does print media ever get to the heart of the issue and encourage real change to the consumer. Very rarely does print media ask the consumer to look at their own actions to incite change.
Social media such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are platforms that are all too often used to create racial hate and discriminate against culture and ethnicity. Racism in sport in Australia is incited by the increasing participation and opportunities of Indigenous athletes in national sports organisations, and these platforms are where a lot of these athletes can be targeted. Here are some examples of discrimination in sport via social media platforms. In April 2017, Eddie Betts was targeted on Facebook with comments featuring the word ape in racially fueled discrimination against his Indigenous ethnicity. This occurred just months after a banana was thrown at him during an AFL football match. In 2014, Nick Natanui was racially abused on Twitter with derogatory tweets referring to the colour of his skin. The offender was banned from creating a Twitter account after pleading guilty to 3 counts of using a carriage service to menace, harass, and cause offence. In 2013, Adam Goods was a target of many discriminatory remarks on all social media platforms after he called out a teenage girl for the racist comments she directed at him during an AFL match. One instance on Facebook went as far as to feature the AFL star in a meme which displayed a picture of a recently shot gorilla from a US zoo with the caption, "Rip Adam Goods."
Sport, Racism and Ethnicity discusses the growth of interest in sport, racism and ethnicity. It states numerous developments have led to this increase in interest. However, there are 3 particular reasons why. The first reason for increase is this topic back in May 1990 was when a British television documentary indicated at least 50% of Britain's athletic squad were black. Secondly, a disproportionately high number of athletics participation from various ethnic minority cultures. And finally, the development of non-racial sport movement in South Africa, the Olympic Project for Human Rights. The writers of this piece argue the fact that although on a starting line for a race everyone is equal, the resources that people may have and the hurdles that people have to leap to get over are unequal. One may argue beside this though, as if you truly want something you'll work for it and you make it work. Tiger Woods, for example, growing up was bothered by being called African American. However, he went on to be the first black winner of the US Masters at the age of 21. He faced so many hurdles and was still able to achieve what he wanted. Although the resources and hurdles Tiger Woods faced may not have been equal, he managed to push this aside and in the end resulted in being the winner. Obviously not all cases of equality work out to be as glamorous as Tiger Woods' story, and many people are denied even basic rights due to their skin colour, but if something is wanted badly enough, it can be achieved. In 1967, black athletes formed the Olympic Project for Human Rights. The benefits of the OPHR were not long in coming. The Olympic Committee began to appoint black people as coaches and realised if they wanted black talent on the field, they needed black input at the front office. This is another example of creating equality from inequality. The limitation to this article is that it is discreetly opinionated. The article is also outdated, so views may have changed from when it was first published in Inequality is again discussed in Articles 3 when mentioning the creation of the Olympic Project of Human Rights. The sport discussed is also a high level standard. Despite there being many differences, the Lit Review emphasises on how to overcome inequality, explains what and how they did it. Also, the first article shows an individual's point of view on racism and how they lie about it to the media and the world.
It is blatantly obvious racism still exists in sport and is more than likely to affect almost every athlete who plays a sport, whether in the form of witnessing racism or being the victim of racism. However, it is getting better in modern society as racism is not accepted by the large community. If we can continue to increase awareness of not only the front stage racism we so often hear about, but the backstage racism held by some decision makers in sporting organisations who hide their divisional and prejudiced beliefs, then we can start to make a change and have a positive effect on all different ethnicities' chances of making a career out of sport. As far as myself and my future in sport goes, all I can do is be well educated and unbiased. Despite being a white male, I will still likely witness racism in sport. It is my duty to speak up and say something if I do.
I believe that discrimination against ethnicity, race, and culture will have little impact in my future career, as my ambition is to become an exercise physiologist and work in hospitals and clinics. I would like to believe that these professional environments are places where all patients are accepted and treated without prejudice and treated as equals.
Personally, I don't really think racism would affect my future because, well, I don't really think that I'm a racist, but people may have a problem with my sort of ethnicity, my Indonesian background, so I guess racism could play a part in people not liking me because of my ethnicity, but hopefully it won't come down to that and everyone plays nice. So, yeah, I don't really think it will affect much of my future.